Welcome back to the Energy Aware Planning System. In the last video, we talked about why traditional planning does not work for people who are burnt out, who suffer from chronic illness, who have ADHD, or just inconsistent energy in general. Today, we're shifting to something a little more practical, how to track your energy, and how to do it in a way that is kind, simple, and not overwhelming, because the point of this exercise is not to expend more energy recording how your energy works. Now, before we dive into how to track your energy, let's talk about why that matters. Most people plan their day based on time. I have 2 available hours and I'm going to fill those hours with X, Y, and Z. But time is not the whole story. You can have those 2 free hours, but maybe your head feels like it's filled with delicious caramely corn. Bonus points to me for making a Ren and Stimpy reference in 2025. That disconnect is why we need to start thinking about planning differently. Because instead of just managing your time, you also need to start managing your energy. And I'm not just talking about the way that your body feels, because you have 3 main types of energy. You have physical energy, which is how your body feels, but you also have mental energy, which is how you're able to focus, how your decision making comes about. And you also have your emotional energy, which is how you deal with things like overwhelm and social interactions. Tracking your energy is how you see what you actually have available, not just what the clock says. It gives you a realistic view about what you can get done based on how your body, your brain, and your heart feel. And that can be absolutely life-changing, because traditional planning doesn't ask you how you feel. It just asks what needs to get done. And I'm sorry, but that is backward, because how you feel affects everything. Your motivation, your focus, your decision-making skills, your ability to get out of bed. And ignoring all of those things is like trying to drive a car that is on empty and hoping your vibes will get you to your destination. Spoiler alert, it won't. And when you track your energy, you're not just gathering data. You're building self-awareness. And you'll start to notice patterns like, man, every Thursday afternoon I crash out. Or I can think super clearly every morning, but by the afternoon I forget how to tie my own shoes. You'll realize that maybe social plans drain you way more than you ever realized. Or that you actually have a better day if you spend the first 10 minutes after you get up in complete silence. These aren't just quirky observations. They're real insights that help you plan smarter. Because once you understand how your energy works, you can start choosing what to do and when, not based on guilt, but on reality. And here's a little bonus to this process. This tracking will help you separate your worth from your output. It reminds you that low energy days are not failures. It's all just information. It's data that says, hey, maybe today needs to look a little different. It also helps you speak up for yourself. When you can point to patterns in your energy, it helps you to do things like advocate for more breaks, to say no to things, or to ask for support without feeling like you're making excuses. You're not being flaky. You're being self-aware. Now, I get it. If you've never tracked your energy before, this can sound a little overwhelming. But don't worry, I am going to make it so simple and so doable for you. Because this isn't about turning your life into a science experiment. It's about paying attention to yourself in a way that allows you to make better choices with less stress and more kindness in your daily routines. So the next time you look at your to-do list and you feel overwhelmed, remember that that list doesn't know how you feel, but you do. And when you finally know what kind of energy you have available, you can finally make a plan that fits into that energy. Now that you know why tracking energy matters, let's talk about how to do it without adding stress and without making it like a second full-time job. Most planners are time-based. You've got boxes for Monday through Sunday, and some of them even have like hourly slots. But what if instead of only filling those boxes and slots with appointments, you also started adding quick little notes about your energy, physical, mental, and emotional. And you can do this a few different ways depending on your style. You can use a symbol or a color code. Physical energy might be blue, and mental energy might be green, and emotional energy might be pink. And then you could rate each one on a scale of 1 to 5. So maybe your physical energy is a 3, but your mental energy is a 5, and your emotional energy is a 1 because Ozzy Osbourne just died, and every time you think about it, you burst into tears. So you just write that information at the top or the bottom of your planner box for that day, and that's it. No complicated journaling, no long explanations, just a few numbers and swatches of color, or smiley faces, or rain clouds, or however you want to do it. You can take it a step further and add one line of energy note throughout your day. You can do it in the morning, the afternoon, and or the evening. It's your planner. It's your system. Do whatever you think is going to help you the most, but just make it simple. My body was really heavy and my brain felt foggy. Or I had a lot of anxiety today and had a really hard time focusing. Or even simpler, clear-headed, kicked ass. And you don't have to do this every single day, but the more consistent you are, the easier it is to start spotting patterns. You can also go back at the end of the day and take a look at your to-do list and see what didn't get done. Very gently ask yourself, why wasn't I able to accomplish this? Did I run out of time? Or was it an energy issue? And make a quick note next to that. Next to the checkbox for write an email, just say, wasn't able to focus. If the laundry didn't get done, make a note, joint pain flare up, because this will give you context for unfinished tasks. So instead of feeling guilt or shame, you see why you overscheduled yourself that day. And after some time, you're going to see that it has nothing to do with your discipline or your willpower, and everything to do with how you're scheduling your day without taking your energy into consideration. If your planner has a weekly spread or a spot for notes at the end of the week, you can use it to jot down a 2 or 3 sentence summary of how the entire week went. For example, Monday was really high energy, but I crashed real hard on Wednesday and the rest of the week was a slog. Or I was emotionally fried this week, probably because I had to do so much peopling over the weekend. You would be amazed at how helpful this is going to become, because after just a few weeks, the patterns are going to start showing up. You're going to start to notice that your energy dips after every social interaction, or that your clarity is best after certain meals, or that emotional stress hits you the hardest on Sunday nights. None of this is about judgment, by the way. It is all just information, and your planner is the perfect home for this information because you're already using it consistently. Maybe, sometimes. Nobody's perfect. But by weaving your energy notes right into your daily page, you stop treating planning like a rule book and start treating it like a tool to better understand yourself. And the best part is this kind of tracking allows you to make better decisions in the moment. When you flip back and you see that you are always physically drained on Friday nights, you can stop scheduling big plans for Friday nights. When you start to notice that Monday mornings are emotionally rough for you, you stop scheduling meetings on Monday mornings. This is what it means to plan with compassion. You're no longer planning for the robot version of you. You are planning for the real you with fluctuating energy and real emotion, because that's the person that actually needs support. And here is where I offer you a shameless plug, because if you do want pre-made templates to track your energy and set up your daily plans, I have an energy aware planning system starter kit in my store. And through the end of August, you can get 15% off the PDF bundle. The link is in the description box if you want to check it out. You do not need this bundle to use this system. I created the principles for people who are unable or just don't want to draw out something for themselves. Conversely, if you're struggling to visualize what this could look like for you, you can just go and look at the example pages that I used as thumbnails in the listing. I want this system to be accessible to everyone, which is why I'm putting these videos on YouTube and not pimping it as a $27 course on Instagram. It's also why I use the example pages as thumbnails in my shop. So that way, if you can't or you just don't want to buy the planning kit, you can still see examples of what this might look like for you without having to spend a dime. Thank you for coming to my Rebel Ramble. Listen, tracking is only useful if you know what to look for, and more importantly, how to learn from it. Once you've started jotting down your physical, your mental, and your emotional energy levels, it's time to start recognizing those patterns, because this is where things get interesting and useful. Let's say you've been logging your energy every day for a week in your planner. You've written a quick note, or you've used a color code or a number system to describe your physical state and your mental ability and your emotional strength. On paper, it probably looks a little messy, but that's okay, because the goal here is not perfection. It's just honest data. Now we're going to take a step back and review it. What do you see? You might notice that your physical energy always dips in the afternoon, or that you feel mentally foggy after you eat certain foods. You might start to see that your emotional energy is at its lowest after social functions. That's something I already know about myself, but not everybody is as self-aware as the introvert on the internet. Or maybe you're going to start to see that your cycles run in waves, that you have 3 productive days in a row followed by a crash. These are the kinds of insights that just can't come from guessing. They come from observing yourself with curiosity and not judgment. Once you spot them, you can start to work with your energy instead of constantly fighting against it. Let's break it down just a little bit more. Let's talk about physical trends first. Do you always crash after lunch? Are there certain days of the week that your stamina crashes? Are there certain days of your cycle or days of the week where your stamina dips? Do you feel stronger after you've slept in or after you've gotten some movement? These patterns help you understand your body's rhythm, so you can stop forcing workouts or chores or errands during your lowest points of the day or week. And what about mental trends? Does your focus tend to kick in late at night? Are mornings a mental desert, or are they a gold mine for ideas? Is there a certain window of time where concentration flows easily? Recognizing your brain's rhythms is key for scheduling your focused work and your problem solving or decision making. And finally, your emotional trends. This one is so often overlooked. Do you feel emotionally drained after certain interactions? Are there triggers that tank your mood or events that lift it? Is your emotional bandwidth highest when you're alone or when you're surrounded by friends and family? These clues can help you guide how to pace your day, and also who to give your time to and when to give yourself emotional recovery. You're also going to start noticing weekly and monthly patterns as well. For example, some folks feel super motivated for the first half of the week and unable to complete the simplest task by Friday. Others have hormonal cycles that affect all 3 energy buckets in different ways during different points of the month. And if you're neurodivergent or you deal with chronic pain, your patterns might look a lot less linear and a lot more like waves. That was a terrible wave. I guess there we go. Please remember that your energy doesn't just vary day to day. It can change hour to hour. You could be mentally on fire every single day at 10 a.m. and then most days by noon, you're completely fried. That is not inconsistency. That is your body and your brain trying to protect you from overload. The goal here is not to control every single moment. It is to recognize what is most often true for you and to use that information to your advantage. So once you've spotted a few patterns, you can begin to plan accordingly. If your mental clarity is best between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., try to stack your most complex tasks right there. If your emotional energy dips after school pickup or therapy, maybe don't schedule anything that could also be emotionally draining after those events. And if your physical energy is lowest during your cycle, build in a rest day instead of scheduling a reformer's Pilates class. When you track your energy over time, you stop being surprised by your body and your brain. You stop calling it random and you stop blaming yourself for it. You start seeing your rhythms as part of your lived reality, and that is where the real change can begin. Let's talk about what energy levels actually look like in real life. Because saying match your tasks to your energy sounds great in theory, but when you're sitting there with a to-do list and a foggy brain, how are you supposed to know what's realistic for you in that moment? Here's where a lot of people get stuck. They think energy is binary. Either you're productive and crushing it, or you're a couch potato doing nothing. But it is not that black and white. Energy moves on a spectrum. And when we break that spectrum down into 3 categories, physical, mental, and emotional, it gets a whole lot easier to figure out what you can handle. Let's start with high energy, which is kind of like catching a lucky wave. It's rare for a lot of us, especially if you're dealing with chronic illness, burnout, or ADHD. But when it hits, oh, it is on, baby. You might feel physically strong, maybe even a little restless. You've got that whole I'm going to clean the whole house or I'm going to rearrange the furniture energy. Mentally, your brain is lit up. You're focused, you're creative, and you're making connections faster than you can even write them down. Emotionally, you might feel open, joyful, generous with your time, even excited maybe to be around other humans. This is the time for you to take on big projects. This is the time to have those deeper conversations, to tackle that task that's been sitting on your to-do list for the last 2 weeks. But, and this is very important, just because you can do more doesn't mean that you should burn through every last drop of energy that showed up that day. Because even high energy needs pacing. You do not want to spend that entire bank of energy in one go so you wake up tomorrow on fumes. So take advantage of it when it hits, but do not overload yourself and shoot yourself in your foot. Now, mid energy is a lot more common. This is your I can function, but please don't ask too much of me zone. Physically, you can move around, maybe do some light chores, but you might require a few extra breaks. Mentally, you're cool with routine stuff. You can pay your bills, you can answer emails, you can reply to texts. Maybe you could even organize a drawer. But anything too complex or overly creative may start to feel like a little bit too much. And emotional, you're stable. You're on an even keel, but you might not be super connected. You could text a friend. You could have a casual conversation, but you're not diving into the deep emotional waters here. Mid energy is where most people live. And honestly, it's a good place to be. The trick is to not expect high energy results from mid-energy days. You're still getting things done, but maybe in a slower and softer way, and that's okay. And then we've got low energy. And hear me when I say that low energy doesn't just mean tired. Low energy is that full body heaviness, when even the smallest things just feel like a huge ask. Physically, you might feel achy and slow, maybe even dizzy and shaky. Mentally, your thoughts are sticky, like your brain is trying to think through a haze of molasses. Words do not come easy. Decisions feel impossible. You reread the same sentence 5 times and it just never really lands. And emotionally, it might look like complete numbness, irritability, and a total withdrawal from people. Maybe you're zoning out. Maybe you're on the verge of tears all day and you don't even know why. And even something as simple as texting someone a meme just feels like too much to handle. This is not a time to force anything. This is recovery mode. It is blanket on the couch and cat video time. Eat a granola bar for dinner and call it a win. And all of that is okay, because sometimes it's better to just eat cereal for dinner and move on than to continue to berate yourself for taking the rest that you need. The key to all of this is understanding that your energy is not just one thing. You might have the mental focus to plan your week, but you got to do it from the couch because every nerve in your body is on fire. Or you may feel physically great, but your brain is just a jumbled mess and you cannot form a coherent thought to save your life. None of that means that you're broken or that you're failing. It just means that your energy is uneven, which happens to most of us all the time. So instead of trying to power through or guess what you should be doing, try checking in with each individual bucket. How am I feeling physically? How am I feeling mentally? And how am I feeling emotionally? What capacity is actually available to me in this moment? And what is asking way too much? Because your capacity is not just about how many hours are in a day. It's about how much energy you have in each area and the fact that that energy is going to shift constantly. It's kind of like the weather. There are patterns. And you can see it coming. But sometimes a storm is just gonna come out of nowhere and you have to allow for that. You have to do your best to be prepared, but plan your days based on your general patterns. Let's be honest with each other. If tracking your energy becomes one more overwhelming thing on your plate, you're not going to do it. So please remember that the goal here is not to build a perfect record of your life. The goal is just to learn about your patterns in a way that allows you to make kinder, more realistic choices. And that means it has to be easy, flexible, and forgiving. Let's start by ditching the idea that tracking your energy has to be done correctly, that it can be done correctly. There is no wrong way to track your own energy in your own planner. You do not have to use a complicated color-coded system. You do not have to draw doodles. You do not have to have a 1 through 5 numbering system. You can do a simpler 1 through 3 numbering system. You can just use a single word that tells you what your energy pattern for that day was. You also do not have to track everything every day. I mean, that would be ideal if you were turning your life into a science project, but we are not doing that here. We are humans and life happens. Some days you are going to forget to track. Some days you are not going to feel like it. All of that is fine. Consistency should never be about perfection. It should be about gently returning to the practice when you are able to. If you miss a few days, and you will miss a few days, you may miss a few weeks. That's okay. Come back when you're ready. Because I just want you to notice your patterns, not obsess over them. I'm going to give you one more low effort idea on a simple way to track your energy. Before you go to bed, ask yourself these 3 questions. How did I feel physically today? How focused or mentally sharp did I feel today? What emotions were most present? And how intense were they? You don't have to write paragraphs here. A few words or a number system is enough. Over time, you will start to see a bigger picture unfold, and it's going to be far more accurate and useful than if you were to just continue to try to push through on vibes and caffeine, because tracking isn't really the goal. Understanding is the goal. Figuring out your patterns is the goal. So if you're getting insight without having to write anything down, that's great, because you don't have to prove your energy patterns to anyone else. So you don't have to have them written down if that doesn't work for you, because the best tracking system is the one that works for your brain. If you have ADHD or chronic illness, trauma, executive dysfunction, it is okay, essential even, to build a tracking method that feels natural and easy for you. There is no wrong way to do this for yourself, except to not do it at all. So as you begin this process, please remember that you are not tracking your energy to become more productive at whatever cost. You are tracking your energy so that you feel more supported, more empowered, and more aware, so you can live in a way that honors your capacity. That's what makes this sustainable. Okay, so let's wrap this video up with a very important reminder. Your energy tracking is not a moral report card. It is not a measure of how good or how bad you were today. It is not meant to shame you for being tired or praise you for waking up with energy. It is just information. That's it. And I want to be very clear about that, because we're not really taught to think that way. Most of us grew up in systems that treated productivity like it was proof of our value. We were told, don't be lazy. I don't want your excuses. I wish you'd apply yourself more. So along the way, we learn to link our self-worth to our output. So when we start to track our energy, it could become really easy to slip into judgment mode. You're probably going to catch yourself thinking things like, ugh, I was so unproductive yesterday. Or, man, I didn't have any motivation again. What is wrong with me? And I want you to notice that voice and push back. Because tracking your energy is not about assigning blame. It is just about noticing patterns. It is giving yourself the opportunity to look and say, oh, look at that. I always crash out on Thursday afternoons. Because that information is useful, but it's only useful if it's gathered with compassion. So be kind and be gentle with yourself, which means avoid labels. Don't call low energy days bad days, or high energy days good days. Try to stick to language that is functional, not emotional. For example, if you're doing 1 line a day about how you felt, you're going to write, today I had low mental focus. You are not going to write, I was absolutely useless today. Do you see the difference? Do you want another one? You're going to write, my emotional energy was flat. You are not going to write, I am falling apart, because this is how you feel and this is what happened. Okay? Are we seeing the difference? I hope so. Because you have to be very careful about the ways that you talk to yourself. Just as you must protect your energy, you must also protect your feelings. So one of those things helps you notice what's going on, and one of those things makes you feel bad. We're doing this, right? Yes. So when you sit down to track your energy and when you go back to review it, you're going to take a breath and you're going to remind yourself that this is not a test. You are not being graded. There is not a red pen or, sadly, gold star in sight. You are simply gathering data about your lived experience so you can support yourself and make logical planning choices moving forward. So let's leave judgment behind. Bring your curiosity, bring your kindness, and let that be your compass as you continue to build an energy-aware life. In the next video, we're going to take this one step further. Now that you're learning how to track your energy, we're going to talk about how to match your tasks to your energy levels. You'll learn how to tell which tasks are low, medium, and high energy, and how to sort them into mental, physical, and emotional buckets. This way, you'll always have something that you can accomplish no matter how you're feeling. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.